Son, where'd you find this?
Don't be offended by the truth. They be offended because you called out the truth. Simple as that. They don't want to hear any other narrative that makes them look bad.
One thing I can't stand at this big grown age is somebody who acts like cause and effect does not exist. Like, yes, your actions caused this outcome. Yes, what you did lit the match. Like, why are you surprised and playing victim?
Guys, Chico. They never lie.
That's how you know somebody doesn't respect you. They listen to reply, not to be understood. They cut you off. They minimize what actually matters to you. They laugh at your boundaries, and then they call you sensitive when you try to hold the line. They show up late, they cancel last minute, forget the things you've told them, because in their world, your time, your energy, even your voice aren't a priority. They're just an option. You see, there are two kinds of people. Those who adjust when they realize they've actually hurt you, and those who expect you to adjust so they don't have to change. You don't need to be disrespected loudly to be disrespected deeply. Sometimes you'll see it. It's just in their tone, in their patterns, in the silence after you're known. Respect isn't what they say when they're watching. It's how they act when they think you'll.
The flow insane, take my spot, so the range, shoot my shot, perfect aim, 3rd degree, that perfect flame, ain't no sleep, that's the game, oh so southern, that's the slang, when they see me, that's the main, chasing checks and fly like planes, big old stick, I bought a cane, flick my wrist and bought the ring, I'm so boss, we're not the same, paid the cost and kept the change, now I'm walking Hall of Fame, and I reside in the cloud, ran wishes with these bitches, taking pictures with the crowd, and I'm out.
What's up? What's up? What's up? Happy Monday. Peace, blessings, glory, praise, and honor to the Most High. Hope you guys enjoyed your weekend as much as possible. I hope the week has started off the way that you wanted it to. Shout outs to my poets, writers, content creators, so on and so forth. I always give my flowers out where it's due. I had to scrap the original stream that I had prior. Well, not scrap. I kind of just postponed it. I think this is a little more urgent, considering. I got a clip I want to play for y'all. Rob's in the building. I'm gonna bring him up. Okay, I see OTC just pulled up in the studio. Yeah, man, we definitely gotta chop it up. This is a real sad one, man. I really don't even have the words. We're gonna try our best, man, to pay our respects. I'm gonna bring Rob up. When OTC got his cam and everything ready, I'll bring him up on the big screen. Rob, what's going on, man?
Yeah.
What's the word?
Today, it's a good day, but this topic is not. Happy Monday. And
likewise. Yeah, man.
Prayers. And
how was your weekend?
It was good. Good enough. It was great. Yeah. My prayers before, my prayers and best wishes and to the families, the people affected by this.
Definitely. It came across my screen a couple days ago, just randomly scrolling. I'm gonna play it in a second. Hold on. When I saw it, I knew I was gonna bring it up. I didn't know when. Like, it was sitting on my spirit. I was uneasy about it for a while, and then I decided, yeah, we need to go ahead and get this one out the way, like right now. Sydney, good evening.
Hello. How are you guys doing?
Happy Monday. Good.
Good. Yeah, it's one of those. Let me get OTC up here. What's up, man?
What's going on? How everybody doing?
Doing good. How are you?
Doing all right. This is a tragedy.
Well, look, I'm gonna go ahead and play this clip for y'all, man, and we'll go from there. Initial thoughts, all that good stuff, man. Let's see.
People are still filling the Shreveport neighborhood tonight, emotional and upset over this shooting that happened both at this house behind me and another one just up the road. And police told me in the last hour it was a survivor of the shooting who escaped and called them to tell them about it. Just after 6 o'clock this morning, when police got here, they found 10 people had been shot. 8 of them had been killed. And as you mentioned, all 8 of those were children. Police also confirming for me that at least 7 of those 8 children were the children of the shooter, who they identified as Shamar Elkins. After the shooting, police say that Elkins carjacked someone just down the street, got into a pursuit with police, stopped. They say he produced a handgun and police officers shot him there at the scene. Louisiana State Police tonight are also involved in this investigation.
This is a tragic situation, maybe the worst tragic situation we've ever had in Shreveport.
I don't know what people think in the crevices of their mind to want to harm another human being, let alone that of children who have their whole life ahead of them.
Shreveport police said that they had one previous run-in with Mr. Elkins, but looking back at that history, Jerika, they said there is nothing that would explain anything like what happened here in Shreveport this morning. People are still filling the Shreveport neighborhoods.
Mouse. Mom. Hey,
Initial
Mom.
thoughts. Anyone want to go first?
I can go first if you want. Well, first of all, my condolences to everyone affected by this tragedy. Anyone who had kids, who knew the kids, who were related to anyone that was involved in this situation. This is just yet another tragedy that we're having to experience in this country. And it really speaks to the psychology that exists in this nation right now. And a couple of things. One, this level of unrest that we're experiencing in this country right now, and how it's manifesting as violence. And And then also the aspect that right now, which I guess it's not totally different than history, but it's been magnified by the technology we have available now. We have gotten into thinking that violence can be an answer for issues that we're having. It really makes me think of this quote that's been resonating with me for the past couple weeks. It was a JFK quote, and he said, let me get the actual quote so I can give you the actual words. What was it? Those who make peaceful revolution impossible make violent rebellion inevitable. And it really makes me think of that right now, because even though this one wasn't exactly motivated by those things, by politics and stuff like that, there's still that deeply ingrained belief in a lot of the politically motivated shootings. So we have to really be more cognizant going into the future, how we address violence, how we talk about violence, how we manage the systems to prevent violence, because it can definitely get out of hand. I mean, we already rank of all the westernized countries the highest in gun violence right now. So yeah, again, my condolences to everyone that had to go through that event.
Rob, OTC.
Yeah, again, that was a breathtaking, man. To see that story, the way it transpired, and all the updates that came from that. It happened what yesterday? Happened on Sunday morning, and it it was just tough to even hear that. It was like unbelievable. I'm still kind of shocked by it because they still producing updates about what happened and everything. But we speak about it a lot on here. The father is the one that committed these murders and everything. So we talk about mental health. And his mental was definitely out of this world for him to do a heinous thing like that. So we gotta. Only thing I can say, we gotta be more cognitive about what we're dealing with as men out here, and try to seek help before something like this happens again. This could have been prevented. I'm gonna say that it should have been prevented. I mean, kids don't deserve to go out like that. And him being the dad, what I'm saying, him being the adult, he should have been more of a leader. You know, you know, making sure that they were protected and stuff. So, only thing I can say is just we need to be more upfront with our mental conditions. Got it.
It's sad. It's sad and it's horrific. And I'm with y'all. My condolences to everybody affected negatively by this. We don't know what's going on in people's minds. I've never seen anything like this. Um, in all my years, never a case, never heard of anything like this. So I really don't, and I haven't done my research. This is a time where I would want to do a lot of research to find out who he was, who they were. But thinking about the kids and thinking about our culture, I don't speak for everybody. This is, I can't even fathom.
Research aside, go back a few years. I covered so many different stories on mothers and fathers coming to the brink of breaking. They've drowned their kids. They've stuffed them in tubs and containers. They've driven around for months with them in the back of their vehicle. The stories aren't brand new. It's just more vocal now. And to each point, there is a mental problem here. You know, I said it not too long ago. Check on your friends and your family. Check on them people that they seem like they got it all figured out. They got all this confidence in the world. They're reliable. You can call them at any hour and they're there for you. They're the most enthusiastic, most boisterous. Check on them. Because just because they give you the impression that everything is fine, it doesn't mean that it is. Without me even knowing that man's history, just knowing that he was willing to go to the extents that he was going, oh, it's definitely it's an accumulation of many factors. Age, trauma, spirituality, and a few diagnoses that's probably been ignored or never examined. Because a lot of people who are going through things, they scream at you that they have stuff going on, but sometimes you just don't recognize or see it for what it is. And I'm not using that or saying it's an excuse. What I am saying is, like OTC said, a lot of this shit can be prevented. But we so enthralled within our own self and our life, we don't see the world around us. Everything can be burning down right in front of you and you don't even notice it at all. So my thoughts and prayers go out to that community, to that family. I know them, if I'm not mistaken, the mom right now is still fighting right now. Yeah, rough. Just rough.
Just because I mentioned it in the previous comments that I made, I was looking up the connection between domestic violence and societal unrest, and there definitely is a link. In societies that are a lot more unstable, ideologically, politically, economically, they tend to have higher rates of domestic violence as well, because it, even though at face value it might seem like, oh, it's just people that aren't getting along or whatever, it's a deeper indication of people's values, the types of relationships they're choosing to be in, and also people's access to healthcare, mental health care, physical health care, and the resources that are available to individuals that are struggling. A lot of the programs for battered women, for relationships falling apart, for people in situations that are, for lack of a better word, less than desirable, a lot of them tend to be nonprofit organizations, and historically, statistically, when the economy is not doing very well, it's harder for these nonprofits to exist, especially when there's the element of people in power having most of the money, having most of the resources. And so I think this is just another example out of the many, many, many examples of how in decline, I guess, this country is getting in terms of morality and support and the, I don't know, like the ability to solve these psychological issues that exist in society. Because domestic violence is a manifestation of poor emotional education and poor support for domestic partners, poor healthcare, all kinds of things. So yeah, it's definitely an indication of something that runs much deeper. And case in point, if you look back to the 1930s, 1940s, stuff like that, these early eras had very, very high incidences of domestic violence and abuse because the power struggle was tipped in the favor of men and not women. And so it was more easy for women to be trapped in relationships that were not conducive to a healthy lifestyle and were sometimes outright dangerous. So yeah, I think unfortunately, this is something that I anticipate we'll probably see more of into the future if things are not done to adjust the social narrative and the resources available to partners struggling with these types of issues.
Yeah, I was gonna say, touching on what you said, Sydney, the thing about it is it's not a lot of support for young, because these individuals kind of young, starting a family. So it's not a lot of support for young people, trying to be grown, starting families early. Um, you starting them really out of trauma or something that maybe you didn't grew up in, and now you trying to, repeat the cycle a little bit. So I mean, touching on the dad, they said he had a little background with being in the military. So this guy was a straight up sniper, straight up. He didn't have no remorse. This crime was no remorse. Um, it should be more support for families. I'm gonna say that. It should be counseling for the young kids, counseling for their relationship, because I believe their relationship was failing, and it kind of triggered the dad to do this crazy thing. I believe mama wanted a divorce. She was supposed to go and do it today, Monday. So dad react to that and did this on Sunday before they had to go to the court. That's what make this stuff so out of hand. But a lot of people got to understand support is key, because with that support, that dad probably wouldn't have felt alone. It was at some point for him to snap the way he snapped, for him to kill his family, pretty much killed all his family. Like, that man ain't had no support. He ain't had no support, and we got to be heard. when we having problems, we have to be heard, but we have to admit that we having these issues. You know, we can't keep stuff in, we can't keep stuff to ourselves. We got to express what's going on, because you're a walking time bomb. You're a walking, you're a walking first 48 case, and that's what this was right here. So if you don't want to be, you don't want to be a target, you gotta, yeah, you gotta seek help, before something like this happens. Mama too, mama was in, she came up in trauma, to even be with a person like that, or they be in bad relationships, like you say, toxic relationships. You don't want to raise your kids up like that, around all that craziness. You see what I'm saying? So I just feel like, going back to what I said about them being young, starting a family, I think that was the beginning of where this ended up. Yeah.
Yeah, it's too much. I know having a lot of children, that's a burden. And I see where people could lose hope. It's easy to lose hope. And I'm not the most religious or spiritual. Well, spiritual, yeah, but religious nowadays, because in each one there's a lot of suffering going on. So yeah, I don't know what would make you, now that what you said deep, I can see it, because that's what they make all the episodes about, the killer next door and this and that. And but still, to do that, I don't know. It reminds me of when you hear the parents say, I brought you into this world, I'll take you out. I still can't see. And I know the support, the trickle down of support is tough. Yeah, I say less.
So we got Sydney who brings up a couple of points, and I'm gonna try to incorporate them with what you said, OTC. She brought up, and I'm not quoting you word for word, but it was something along the lines of certain communities make it a little more difficult for you to come out of it unscathed. Like, shout out to anybody who comes up living next door to boarded up houses and you struggle with EBT and all that, and you manage to get out of it. I don't know the numbers on the success rate of that, but I do understand the mental toll it will take on someone. Then you factor in, they don't really care about your struggle, and they throw you into the service, because if you are right in what you just said about him being in the military, so are you saying, or are we suggesting that there's a possibility, I'm not making excuses for him, was he someone who grew up in a bad area, got thrown into the military, you pile on all of that pressure, then you have all these responsibilities to factor in. Your marriage ain't going the way that you would hope. You don't know how to manage any of it, and that just set him off. Or are we isolating his issue to something more specific because I'm looking and I'm thinking about it. I'm suggesting that maybe it's a combination of all of it. It don't really seem like people cared anyway, and maybe she tried to get help. Let's say she tried to reach out to somebody. I would guarantee that she had conversations with folks. Almost certain, but no help came. Like you're in a situation with a man who probably has PTSD. He has the responsibility of 8 other mouths. They don't give a shit about the military for real. Like once you leave, they damn near kind of just discard you, and you left for dead. Figure it out. So with him having all of that and her trying to balance out his stuff with hers, what are we really looking at here as a whole? This is a rhetorical, but I'm genuinely asking.
Well, one thing I wanted to add in, he's also living. Okay, so first of all, he's living in a state that has, I think, the second poorest medical healthcare system in the entire country. I think Mississippi is the only one that's worse, as well as they're 50th in education. And psychology science shows that there is also a link between lack of education, lack of healthcare, and violence, because all three of those go hand in hand. If you aren't educated, you're not going to be very up to date and aware with how you can manage your health. And just from the tiny bit of research that I've done on him and have found on him, he was already struggling with mental health issues. Earlier in the month, on April 9th, he posted on, I guess, Facebook or Instagram, "Dear God, today I ask you to help me guard my mind and my emotions." He also wrote another post. They didn't say which date, but shortly after that other one. "When depression tries to settle in, when anger rises, when anxiety or panic comes, give me the awareness to recognize what is not from you and the strength to reject it immediately in the name of Jesus." So just off of his own social media accounts, this man was already deeply struggling with mental illness. We all know that people will post things about their struggles to get people to pay attention to what they're going through, but what they're going through is going to be way deeper than what they're posting about. Very few people are going to be super blunt with like, "Yes, I'd like to kill myself today," or something like people aren't going to do that. They're going to be very vague with it because they want people to notice and be like, "Hey, are you okay?" Which would give them an opening to explore these feelings. And particularly with men, you guys aren't taught in most circumstances how to express yourself properly. A lot of men are coached by their own fathers, their own families, to just suck it up, deal with it, keep it in, don't show your emotions, don't tell people anything because your job is to be strong and blah, 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 blah. And that comes at a detriment of not only understanding your mental health because you don't have anyone that you feel comfortable opening up to, and you feel vulnerable and reject the idea of having to share your thoughts because God forbid you have to be vulnerable. But also it prevents them from having the literacy to even understand when they might need help. Where a lot of people will, a lot of men will forego getting help, forego reaching out to people because they'll have it in their mind, "I just have to deal with it. I just have to put up with it, figure it out myself. This is something for me, and I'm not going to share this with other people because what can other people do?" But that's very damaging when it comes to mental health crises, especially ones that are plaguing all kinds of people. Like, he's not the only person in the United States dealing with these types of feelings. He is dealing with something that's quite frequent. It's just not talked about very often. Just like I said previously, it starts young. It starts by teaching kids in classrooms. It starts by teaching them in the household how to manage yourself, how to be properly emotional about situations, how to share the things that you need. And he likely didn't get this. He likely was just brushed aside and trained to be quiet.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you saying on that one. With my man upbringing and everything like that, if he was starving of some guidance and he wasn't getting it. You know what I mean? So that's where that, like I said, that's where that support coming at. The man should have had counseling probably as a kid, to work on some of them traumas before he started bringing kids in the world. You see what I'm saying? So he been ill. For him to do something like this, yeah, he been ill. It was more to do with his upbringing than any of them kids he made with her, and um, gotta look at the mom on this too. Gotta go on her upbringing. You picked a man with all these problems. Like, we gotta make better choices. You know what I'm saying? Work on ourselves and make better choices. But yeah, this man needed some huge guidance. He might didn't grow up. He might didn't grow up without the correct, parenting and everything like that. So, you do stuff on the wild side, and it get crazy. So I think he had a lack of maybe a father or something like that, and he probably experienced a lack growing up. He also he also went in there kind of young, so he was only 18, I believe. He went in there at 18, but I believe he already had his first child before that. So it's it's a mess, man. For him to have 8 kids like that, and the man is only 31 years old. So that's a long time to be messed up like that. So we looking at least 15 years of punishment. I think his kids was what the oldest was maybe 14 going on 15 or something. So yeah, we looking at least 15, 16 years of this, and then you got to have the right partner. So we go, like I said, we go back to the mom, and you're trying to do something or create something, a family that you lacked, that you didn't have, with somebody that probably went through the same type of trauma and problems, her damn self. So, you know, it's a crazy situation, but uh we got to be more responsible on seeking help when we in these situations, man, because if you ignore a problem, too long, then it become real loud, and then we get an explosion like this one. So that's what happened when people don't feel like they getting heard and stuff like that. They react, and then now the whole news talking about this. They're gonna be talking about this for quite some time. So it's better to address the issues early before it's too late.
Yeah, we need improve on our systems, all of our systems. Um, the term democracy needs to be rethought. I'm already for the Constitution being written. I ain't even gonna say rewritten, because the system started out broke. So it needs to be a whole new construction, and a lot of our priorities have to change. And that's come from the top down and from the bottom back to the top. It needs to be a whole reorganization of policies, well, a new organization of policies, but a whole reorganization of resources to where I feel well, because I think I would make my house smaller so that somebody can have space and time to think, ideally. And I know a lot of times we, you figure everybody's emergency is not your emergency. And that could, be taken any kind of way. But also they say if you can't be used, you're useless. And in a situation like that, I'm thinking it would be very hard to provide the mental or economic resources to where he have time to think, and then he have time to be able to take care of himself, take care of his family, and the same for the young lady. And like y'all said, a lot of times we repeat the cycle, what we've been through, it becomes normal. It's a lot though, because the one thing that I see a lot of times, they don't, well, I guess so. Like you said, I guess I'm wrong that people do kill their children. It's been documented. Well, it's still hard for me to believe. In this case, I'd rather an absent father than a father to do that. Yeah.
So if he had all his kids by her, that seems fairly responsible, I guess. I mean, he wasn't out here with multiple women. I'm not saying he probably wasn't stepping out, but if he had all his kids within that marriage, I'm all for that. I'm against, at this, especially right now at this point in life, adults or rewinding back, teenagers and kids getting involved in adult activities without having the proper pieces to move them forward when it comes to bringing other people into your life. Like the level of dysfunction from just simply being confused about your purpose or your calling can change everybody's life around you. If you straddle the fence, you can't lead nobody. You can't even lead yourself. If you are mentally unstable and are unprepared to be able to unpack the demons that are in there with you and have a picnic with it, you do not have any right to be bringing other people involved in your stuff. After having the first, I'm thinking it's time for me to just slow down. But you continue to have children even after the fact. What prompts you to continue to have these kids with someone and then at some point things go left within the relationship to the point to where she doesn't feel like it can be fixed. You don't know how to regulate your emotions and your feelings, and then you snap. Like how do we get from this being your bride to be, you going to the army to protect and provide for her, the family, for the country, to you going on social media crying out for help, asking for something to change, and it's Monday, the divorce that was supposed to happen doesn't go in the way that she wanted it to. See, she wanted to get out of this the legal way. You didn't know how to handle that and took it completely left. And that's something you said universal health care. I agree that definitely needs to be a thing. I don't know why America is so foul towards its own citizens, but that's definitely a component and an issue that needs to be addressed a little bit more. Folks need help out here. It's always about the money, always. And it's sad. You telling me people can be on the internet, and this is why, like, the lines be so gray. People will say the internet is fake. Okay. So was this man asking Jesus for help about his anxiety and stress? Was that fake? Are these men that's getting on here that's actually being vulnerable? Is that fake too? Are these women who are coming up here talking about their abuse, is all of that fake too? Like we gotta stop taking everything so lightly, you know. But there's no excuse for that. No excuse for that. All of those kids didn't ask to be here. They have nothing to do with the instability in that household. Your plan backfired on you. In the worstest way possible. I'm trying to find the silver lining in all this, and it's very difficult too. All I keep going back to is, well, there's a cause and effect for everything. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for how this started. If people got the help that they were supposed to get, we wouldn't have this. I yield.
You bring up some really good points. Oh my gosh, my daughter's throwing a bag of diapers at me. One of the things that I was thinking of as you're talking about this is one, at least with women, I know that the more children a woman has, the higher the likelihood she'll have mental health issues. Because another thing that I've noticed, I don't know if it's just from my external perspective, seeing how people talk about it, but I literally just watched this video over the weekend, I believe, or maybe Friday, which was a compilation of women lamenting and frankly like freaking out because they regretted being parents. They regretted choosing to have children and didn't realize the amount of work and personal sacrifice it would take to have children. And I think that's another issue in society that could have possibly affected him. Like you said, he had 7 kids. 7 kids is a lot. As somebody with just 2 kids and one on the way, I can tell you 7 kids is a lot. I worked in a classroom, and even dealing with 4 kids in a group can be very challenging, very tiring. And if you don't get a break from that, I couldn't even imagine. Like, even with 2 kids, as she's coming in the frame, even with just 2 kids, I had to relearn how to care for myself along with them, because they take up so much of your time that you have to restructure your entire life. You have to restructure how you think, how you interact with people, how you go about your day, how you go about your routines. It's not easy. And we live in a society, particularly here in America. I think it is better in some other countries, but here in America, we're very individual focused, very individual centric, in the sense that, like, because we're a capitalistic society, because we're like, oh, anyone can make it, all you have to do is work hard and whatever, it comes with the ideology that kids are an extra in life, that they're something you can choose if you want to, whereas other cultures see children as a blessing, as a fundamental of family life, as a, like, as something sacred almost. But here it's seen as like a potential investment or something like that. It's definitely framed differently with different populations, but we don't have the same way of looking at kids as other countries do. And we also don't have very realistic depictions of what parenthood is actually like, especially within the media, within movies, TV shows, stuff like that. A lot of TV shows like to show kids as either completely incompetent or as smarter than the parents. And it's an unrealistic representation of what parenthood is like. And so I think a large majority of parents nowadays, especially when you combine it with the economic costs of having a child, they're basically blindsided by what it actually takes to have children. I can say that from personal experience. Even with my first child, the amount of mental work it took to change myself for him so I could be a better parent for him was at times excruciating. Like, it was very, very difficult. And especially when you get, at least in my case, I get tastes of single parenthood and what that's like with individual children and with multiples. It's a lot of work. It is soul sucking. It takes up your time. It can be so tiring. And even when you think you're going to get a full night's of sleep, you still don't get that because they're upset about something or whatever's going on. So it's unusual. It's an unusual accomplishment compared to everything else, because it's one of the few accomplishments you don't get a break from, especially if you're a single parent, or especially if you have that many children, because it's kind of hard to get a break when 7 miniature human beings are vying for your attention all the time. Someone's always going to be sick. Someone's always going to need something. They're always going to need to go somewhere, get new clothes, go to the doctors. Like, even just managing my appointments with their appointments can be very stressful. So I think part of what could have happened, granted, I don't know their full situation, they may very well have chosen, I want a lot of kids, I want 7 kids, but I could very likely see them not anticipating children being as complicated as they are, especially because when you're planning to have children, a large majority of people, when they're imagining having children, they imagine the first couple years. They imagine when they're a baby, when they're a toddler, when they're all cute and fun. And even though they're not as a toddler, I promise you, they're less cute when they're throwing temper tantrums over chicken nuggets or something like that. But they romanticize having children. And if you continue to romanticize having children, but you keep having those children, you're eventually going to get to a breaking point. And I've seen this happen with women. I've seen this happen with men. There was a woman I watched a couple months ago. It was a case where she called in, turned herself in because she shot her 2 or 3 children because she, in her own words, I just couldn't handle it anymore. And this type of situation seems like it was more likely that he killed his wife and children, or shot his wife and killed his children, because she was planning to leave him. And I know that's a huge factor in domestic violent deaths, where it happens, it precedes them being left, essentially, because as people, we also don't deal with loss very well. And so that could have been a sort of emotional reflex where it's like, if I can't have you, then no one can type of mentality. But there very well could have been some sort of stress related psychosis as a result of literally never having a break because you have 7 children and you're also coping with mental illness problems because you've been in the military. So yeah, I think there's a lot of factors in play in regards to this specific situation. Him being in the military, having so many kids, they probably were low income. I'm guessing because they had 7 kids, he was the sole breadwinner, and that is another additional stress. But all of these elements together just concocted a situation for violence, unfortunately.
Shaking my head. All I'm gonna say is parenthood is the most realest hood you gonna experience in this world. That's no bullshit. I mean, I don't care if you got 1 or 1,000 of them. You gonna go through something trying to be a parent out here. And then, like you was touching on, Sydney, yeah, most parents think about when they small, that it don't never end. It's not over. Like you gotta raise them up. People keep saying 18 years and all that. Nah, it ain't over. That's just to give them the start. They gotta get girlfriends. They gotta have a wedding. You're gonna be a part of all that. Baby's coming. You're gonna be a part of all that. They gonna keep calling mom, dad. Like that stuff don't end. Then you gonna be great. Then they gonna be passing you the grandkids. It don't stop. So all I can say is like touching on what Miss Sydney said about my man. Um, I really think it was a crazy idea. You know, um, if you already struggling, because we're talking about Louisiana. Louisiana is the slums. It's horrible, bro. It's third world. Kevin Gates came through there. You know, Boosie. Like these dudes had it hard, and it's a lot of murder going on in Louisiana. So I'm looking at it like if he's struggling and he was in that military for a little bit and it ain't working out, it ain't panning out. What was the motive of him having all them kids, man? I mean, I I mean men want kids, but we don't ever sit back and envision we want 10, 15 kids, man. We no. Mm-mm. Cause that's you gotta you gotta think about because when it all goes down, it falls more on the man than the woman when it's time to step in and you gotta be the provider of all those miles, like you were saying, and then like you said, someone always getting sick, somebody always gonna need you. You got to be ready for that. And I think this dude was stressed out because he like, dang, he felt he probably was taking the bulk of the weight. Mama probably wasn't having his back. And to be honest, when you make 7, 8 kids like this, it's probably more easier for mom to go ahead and bail out than pops. Pops can't do that. Moms can bail out and like she was gonna get this divorce, and she could have probably, you know, got some help. They ain't nobody gonna help. It wasn't nobody gonna help him though. So that I think that played a factor. Who was real motivated to have all them kids real early? I mean, yeah, one or two, okay, but you talking seven, 8 kids, and they all coming back to back, and you got to provide for them. That's hell on earth, man. Then you're not making a lot, so that provider thing come in as a man. You supposed to be the main man. We talked about it up top with my man James Evans, man. That stuff rough, man. They looking at you like, come on, pops, you got to show up. And when you don't achieve that, you know, mama gonna look at you like a failure, man. She got to go. And I think that's what played out right here. Mama was trying to get out of there for a minute, it looked like. The way this went down, she probably been was trying to leave him. But then again, looking at her, why would you have all these kids with him? You see what I'm saying? You got to be responsible. It can't just be on one. It got to be on both of y'all. And I think he probably felt like she wasn't trying to be all in with him. Taking this responsibility, um, taking this responsibility serious, and he probably broke down. Man, you got to be partners when you do this parent thing. It can't be. This thing wasn't made for one person. Even though we got a lot of single parents out here, it wasn't made for just one person to carry the whole sentence out. It wasn't. They didn't make the kids by themselves, so yeah, you got to be down like 4 flat tires with this. And if you bail, you know that's rough on the other person. It ain't fair. So I feel like this. If they either one of them, just go for mom and dad. If either one of them wasn't gonna stick it out and take care of these kids, man, shame on them. That's irresponsible, man, to make all these kids and don't stand on this stuff. So it's sad. They said mama in the hospital right now, you know, fighting for her life, of course. But then they said she's screaming out for her kids, man. This is the saddest story. Well, I know it's gonna be the saddest story this year. I don't think nothing gonna really top this, domestic wise. And she's screaming like she want to see her kids, and they not here, man. They not coming back. And then they said one child escaped from the window and got up on top of the roof, tried to leave, but the kid wouldn't jump, and the police said they ended up finding his body on top of the roof. So this was a straight massacre, man. This was real horrible. And yeah, man, we got to look into getting help early. Start a counseling class, like do better for the community. Like this is not the only family that's dealing with this. He's not the only man that's dealing with stuff like that. Don't know single parent, no female should be taking care of 10 kids by herself with no man. That's insane. Like, come on. She ain't make him by herself. Same thing with the guy. He ain't make him by herself. We got to be more responsible as adults, whether we young or not. You make a decision. You gotta stand on it. All right.
Yeah, kids they ain't asked to be here with that all the way. Again, my prayers, and I don't even know if they matter in this case. Well, I pray for everybody affected, all of the children, the wife, him. It's not good. I can see where the hope is going left. Um, so I don't know.
What we have here is a manifestation of all things internalized, revealing itself when it has nowhere else to go. When everything is bubbling beneath the surface and there's no outlet, where do you think it's going to disperse? Who do you think is going to catch the shrapnel? It's always going to be the ones that's closest to you. Always. And it starts with the small things, the things you neglect, the things you sweep under the rug, the things that you say are just mosquito bites. But you continue to scratch and scratch and scratch. It becomes a sore. And it might bleed. We see this every day, all day. Stop telling people there's an issue with being vulnerable. Stop interfering with a person who is trying to vent. Stop ignoring the red flags. Stop being so nonchalant. You might be in a good space. They aren't. Find out. Stop being lazy. Be proactive. Like Sydney said, tribe, community. We need all that. Everything in between. Unfortunately, this ain't gonna be the last time we hear stories about this type of stuff. I wish I didn't hear about this one. But hopefully, this live stream and this discussion creates more conversations. Because we all know somebody that we think got it all figured out. And they probably don't. Check on your loved ones, man. Check on all your peoples. If you're spiritual, get on that wall, start praying. Even if you aren't, show some compassion and some empathy. This is a real issue. And the generations ain't getting no better. You got kids that are getting degrees and doctorates and all types. I love it. But there's a large portion out there. They don't give a damn about nothing. They out here just lost. So if y'all got anything y'all want to say before we close out, here's the not.
I just wanted to close out my own comments just to say again, my condolences to the family, and I'm praying for the mother and her recovery. It is going to be an excruciating healing journey because she's not only going to have to heal from her own experienced trauma and the injuries that he did to her, but she also has to recover from the grief and trauma of losing her partner, which, yeah, I know they're getting divorced, but it's still a person in your life that you had a connection with, as well as all the children that were taken from her. So yeah, my heart goes out to that whole community, any of the family members, herself. This is a situation that nobody, especially parents, should have to endure. And it's just something that we as outsiders should look at and try and learn from. How can we be better parents? How can we be better spouses? And how can we be better to the community members around us? How can we offer more to the people that are struggling? Because unfortunately, this is an example of what happens when people fall through the cracks, when people's needs are not being met, when people are not getting what they need, and when people are left to fend for themselves with some of the hardest stuff that you could possibly do as a human being. So I just pray that, again, this family has experiences some elements of recovery, and that we as a society learn from this and are able to prevent future tragedies by offering more resources to all of these communities that are being left behind and forgotten.
I too just want to, say a prayer and send my condolences to everybody that was involved, neighbors, family members of these victims. Also, kids at school. They mentioned one of the kids was real close with one of the victims. One of the kids that lost their life, and they are like really devastated about this. Hearing about it, and they're seeking counseling, and and to be honest, that's where it really starts at. It starts with having a trauma, with a devastating tragedy like this for a kid like that, and that's where you need to get the help at. It starts when you're young. Let's put that on the table. It starts when you're young. It's harder to get that help when you've been dealing with stuff for so long, letting stuff build up like a stack of Legos. You got to do what you got to do. You know, mental health is real, people. It's out here. It's been out here. We did a lot of streams about mental health. People losing their life, not only killing kids, taking their own life. So we gotta be more aware. We gotta show more awareness to this topic that we're talking about. We got to put more eyeballs on this. Um, for men and women, coming up. We need to have more counseling. I think people need to have experience counseling at a young age to prevent their adulthood getting rough. So hopefully we get a decent president, man. We can make some moves and make stuff happen, because this is enough. He should be really addressing this right now. That's all I got to say.
May we have a moment of silence? And I apologize for not knowing everybody's name that that were killed. May we have a moment of silence?
Bless each and every single one of y'all watching. God bless Louisiana. Y'all be safe this week. Hug on your loved ones a little tighter. Check on your peoples. And moving forward, let's do better. Thank y'all for being here this evening. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Mental medicine needed.
Have a good Monday and the rest of the week.
Bye.
The flow insane, take my spot, so the range. Shoot my shot, perfect aim. 3rd degree, that perfect flame. Ain't no sleep, that's the game. Oh, so southern, that's the slang. When they see me, that's the main. Chasing checks and fly like planes. Big old stick, I bought a cane. Flick my wrist and bought